We are going to be talking about this young bride who, because a psychic was pushing her, engaged in fraud to try to get $1 million from her 79-year-old husband. Yes, she was 20 something, he was 70 something. It was fraud and it was a lot of money. We're going to take a look at this by first going to a couple of articles on the web, just sort of pull together the background piece so you'll understand exactly what we're talking about, see who the husband was. Then we're actually going to take a look at this affidavit. The affidavit is going to tell us everything. According to Fox 13, I'm going to go here because I think they did a really good sort of summary of this. We're going to start with this article, then I'm going to backtrack in time, take you to what her husband was sort of saying, because when all this sort of came out, it was reported that he was saying, I don't want her deported. Then we're going to actually look at the affidavit that breaks down how they figured out that something was wrong, how they figured it all out. Okay, let's go to this Fox 13 article. It says here, self-proclaimed psychic gets more than 9 years in twisted $1 million scam. So let's scroll down here just a bit. Self-proclaimed psychic Jaycee Wasso was convicted in March in a twisted $1 million scam. In a courtroom, she said she knew that her fortune telling days were over and asked for forgiveness for her actions. Part of what the judge said was, hey, you can no longer do any fortune telling. But look, it was going to be a while anyway because she had been convicted. So she actually was behind. This is Jaycee Wasso here. She was actually behind this young woman trying to scam her husband out of money. It says she was found guilty of stealing money, jewelry, and luxury items from Tampa businessman Richard Rappaport. Rappaport's then wife, Lin Halfon, was a client of Wasso. Wasso manipulated Halfon into stealing more than $1 million in cash and jewelry in November 2019. And he says he fell for it. This is him on the stand in there. He's now 80 years old. He thought this was a purchase that was going to a condo. Meanwhile, there were these checks that were being written at this bank, and his wife is saying, oh, this is to buy a yacht. So that is where this all fell apart. Now, let's go back in time to 2019 when this all happened. I want to just bring up this one article about the businessman so you can get some idea of who he was. And then we're actually going to go to this affidavit so that you can hear how this all fell apart. This is U.S. businessman said swindled by Israeli wife, is a major donor for Israel causes. Sorry, it's morning. I'm a little delayed here. All right, he was 77, was recently married to a young woman who allegedly tried to steal $1 million from him. And so he's a philanthropist. He's donated money. It says here, it talks about the charges that his wife was facing, because remember, I just talked about the psychic. So Halfon, his wife, is facing charges of money laundering, organized fraud, and exploitation of an elderly person. During her first court appearance, the judge set her bail at $1 million. It says here, when he was notified by what his wife was doing, he initially said he wanted to give his wife the benefit of the doubt. That's what he said. That's what a lot of people say because they don't yet have all the facts of everything that happened. And so this was a picture that the New York Post had shared here again, and you can see the date on this is December 26, 2019. And we're going to break all this down about the checks that she had written. This is Halfon told investigators she'd mailed the checks to her sister in Israel after a fight with Rappaport, but was having them sent back. Police were tipped off by an Amscot employee in Tampa who refused to cash the checks. Yeah, we're going to go break all of that down. But you can see Mr. Rappaport here. It says here, Titus, his daughter. Titus wrote about her father, saying Rappaport went to Israel for the first time as a teenager. Soon after Israel became a state, he eventually became a major donor to the Jewish National Fund and supports many JNF projects. She had followed in her father's footsteps. We spent much time in the South. He is a cycling enthusiast and has participated in many cycling events in Israel. You guys, I mean, he looks like he's in great shape. He is the president of Panther Medical, a national medical device distributor. All right. So let's get out of that and let's head over to this this affidavit because I want to go through this affidavit. This is, I'm telling you, where all of the details are. And I've got this new Fitbit and it's just sort of irritating my wrist there, the way I have it sitting up here. So if you see me constantly doing this, that is why. All right, let's see if we can pull up this affidavit and go through this piece by piece. Your affiant, Special Agent Victoria Morris, is currently employed as a sworn state law enforcement agent with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. Your affiant has been a special agent for 22 years, is currently assigned to the Major Case 2 Squad. As an agent in the Major Case 2 Squad, your affiant investigates fraud-related offenses and is tasked with handling cases involving exploitation of the elderly. Prior to working with the FDLE, your affiant had 10 years of law enforcement experience, 7 years with the Florida Highway Patrol and 3 years with the Florida Division of Alcohol, Beverage, and Tobacco. Your affiant has been a fraud investigator for her entire 22-year career with the FDLE. Pretty much every state now, just about, has some sort of statute in place that allows for the special prosecution of financial crimes that take place against persons who are elderly or of a certain age. This is one of those states. We're in Florida and they're just like, hey, this is basically elderly financial abuse and we are going to prosecute you for it. And this is the person who's been doing this for 22 years that we had investigate this. All right, let's continue here. Your co-affiant, Special Agent Ramon Cosme, has been employed as a sworn state law enforcement agent with FDLE since 2018. Prior to that, your co-affiant served 25 years with the Clearwater Police Department. Your co-affiant has worked in various assignments with FDLE and CPD to include patrol officer, community policing officer, SWAT hostage negotiator, burglary detective, economic crimes detective, patrol supervisor, economic crimes supervisor, and is currently assigned to the FDLE Major Case 1 Squad. The following is intended to be only a summary of what is an ongoing investigation and is not an exhaustive description of all the information that is known to your affiants or law enforcement. You guys, they pretty much always put that in there. This is just part of the information that they're sharing. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement was contacted on November 8, 2019 by Amscot related to suspicious activity. Since that time, your affiant has learned that on November 7, 2019, Lin Halfon, we're going to call her Halfon, attempted to cash a Wells Fargo cashier's check in the amount of $1 million in Tampa, Florida. So, here's the thing. When you gotta figure people just really do not understand that you're just going to walk into a bank and cash $1 million check and think that nobody's going to ask questions. Like, you really think that that's going to happen that way. It makes you wonder, because she was saying she was under feeling pressure from this psychic to go do this and take some of these actions. This is not necessarily here, but this is why she's doing this. But it's just like, did anybody think this through of how this is going to work? You just go to the bank, you cash a check, and they're going to give you $1 million. You're just going to walk out with $1 million. You're going to put it in another account with it. Whatever it is, we're going to get more into the details there. But just the idea that you think you're just going to walk in with this check and it's going to be treated just as if you were walking in with a check for $50. To me, it's just a stage that they didn't they just weren't thinking this through. I don't know how else to say it. It just, I don't even know what to say there. That was just never going to work the way that they thought it was going to work. But okay, let's see what else we have in here. Amscot Security Director Al Rivera contacted FDLE Special Agent Supervisor Rick Tavers and advised that Halfon attempted to cash the check at the Amscot located at 6901 whatever Avenue, Tampa, Florida. Amscot refused to cash check number whatever because it was in the names of Lynn Helena Halfon and Richard Rappaport. Okay, now Richard is her husband. It's in both of their names. It, but she wants to cash it for her. Okay, Amscot could not speak to Rappaport to confirm the check. Amscot made a copy of the check and Halfon's Israeli passport, which she used as identification along with a U.S. visa. While there, Halfon stated that she had closed her account at Wells Fargo and was going to buy a yacht in Miami with her husband, Richard Rappaport. When Amscot refused to cash the check, Halfon offered to pay $100,000 to have it cashed. Your affiant learned that Amscot charges a 4.9% fee to cash any check over $5,000. So the fee would have been $49,000. So if you're working there and somebody just comes in and it's now, oh, well, I'll give you some money. I'll give you some money if you cash this for me, if you do this favor for me. If you're on the other end of this, all of this just keeps sounding even more and more suspicious, more and more suspicious. This is an employee. So am I now going to put my job on the line to possibly cash a check? We can't get up with the other party. I'm not going to do that. And so now you're going to offer me $100,000 to do it, which, if anything, makes me even more suspicious of what you're doing. Like, that didn't help her. That hurt her. That made it even worse. And so they're doing their job. They're just like, oh, let's make a copy of the check. Oh, let's make sure we got a copy of the visa too, and whatever ID it is she's presenting, so that if there is something suspicious that goes on, we've now got all of this information from her. And is she even stopping to think that, okay, so they're photocopying my ID for this. They're, saying no to me giving them money. Maybe this might not be the right thing for me to do. Like, I don't know if this is even clicking through her head. Again, there was testimony. You can go back and look at the trial. But right now, we are just thinking through what this may have been like for the employee who's being asked to do this. I'm going to give you $100,000 if you give me $1 million. This just sounds like bad idea for everyone involved. But thankfully, the employee is like, yeah, no, I don't think that's how we're going to do this. That is not going to work that way. All right, so let's see. Would have been $49,000. Halfon returned, and I guess I could have made this a little bit bigger. Yeah, isn't that much bigger? Doesn't that work so much better? Halfon returned to the same Amscot location a few hours later with 3 new Wells Fargo cashier's checks in the names of her and Rappaport. So what she's doing is she's, she's got this Wells Fargo account that it sounds like maybe it's in both of their names or something like that. And she's taking money out. I don't know. I can't even figure this piece out. So why not just get it in your name? But it sounds like maybe it's his account. I don't know. It's not clear what is going on here. But she comes back with now she's got 3 new checks. Okay, so every time this woman walks in, I would just be like, okay, suspicious every single time, because now it's like something new. We're going to have something new going on every single time with this. All right, let's break down what she's doing with these 3 checks. Halfon returned to the same Amscot location a few hours later with 3 new Wells Fargo cashier's checks in the name of her Rappaport. We've got the numbers there, and each broken down. Okay, so $333,333.33, with the last one being 34 cents. Amscot again refused to cash the checks, but made copies of them. Let me tell you, they're just like, we are protecting our rear end on this. The employees are just like, make copies, make copies, make copies. Can you imagine the conversation that's going on, like back in the back where the customer cannot hear what's going on? Can you imagine the conversation? Amscot again refused to cash the checks but made copies of them. While there, Halfon was asked about the location of Rappaport. So where is your husband? Halfon stated Rappaport was out of the country. Halfon was also questioned about the yacht transaction, but she could not provide any further information. Don't know what that means. Couldn't or wouldn't. Or maybe couldn't make any more up at the time. FDLE crime analyst to Corrine Allen obtained information from Wells Fargo and learned that Rappaport had recently opened an account with Wells Fargo in Tampa and transferred 1.1 million U.S. currency from his Bank of Tampa account into the new account with Wells Fargo. Rappaport told Wells Fargo that Halfon was his niece. Rappaport seemed confused and thought he had other accounts at Wells Fargo. Okay, so this is the first time that I'm actually hearing of this confusion on his part. I'm not sure, what this means when he says that he told Wells Fargo that Halfon was his niece. Yeah, this is interesting. On November 8, 2019, Special Agent Guillermo Cancio and Tampa Police Detective Derek Lane interviewed Richard Rappaport and his daughter, Dana Titus, at Rappaport's home in Tampa. Rappaport and Titus were returning from Rappaport's estate planning attorney's office. Titus advised the investigators that neither she nor anyone else in the family knew Rappaport had married Halfon. They kept it all a secret. Titus believed that Halfon was conning Rappaport due to his age. Rappaport advised the investigators that he believed it was a mistake and wanted to give Halfon the benefit of the doubt. Rappaport advised the investigators that he told Halfon she needed to return the check. The investigators advised Rappaport that Halfon had returned to Wells Fargo in Tampa and broke the $1 million check into 3 separate checks. Titus advised that Halfon had berated Rappaport on the phone when her dad asked for the check back. Rappaport and Titus both stated Halfon had visited the previous evening with the understanding of returning the check, but did not bring the check with her. Halfon is a native of Israel and entered the United States on a visa. Records show that Halfon married Morris Sevi and received a divorce in 2019, and that on June 21st, 2019, Halfon and Rappaport applied for a marriage license and were married August 24th. So let's look at these dates here. And then Rappaport then petitioned for Halfon to become a U.S. citizen. Well, that's not happening now. Let's look at these dates here. So she had received a divorce judgment on June 17, 2019. And then here we are just a few days later, they have a marriage license. And then they got married in August. So that's sort of the timeline on that. So they were definitely a newlywed couple. On November 12th, 2019, let's just make sure everything's good. On November 12th, 2019, Special Agent Cancio and Detective Lang spoke with Halfon at her Tampa apartment, which your affiant notes is different from Rappaport's address. Okay. Halfon advised that she had mailed the checks within a larger care package to her sister in Israel in an effort to hide them from Rappaport's daughter. Halfon provided a tracking number via a USPS receipt, which was for a package to Israel said to contain clothing/purse. Your affiant learned the package was shipped on November 8, 2019, and arrived in Israel on November 18, 2019. Halfon advised that she was going to tell her sister to mail the checks back. Halfon advised that Rappaport's family was pressuring him to not give her money. Halfon said that she and Rappaport had a little fight on November 7, 2019, so she mailed the checks to her sister to hide them. Halfon was asked about a receipt on her counter for $61,915.40. Halfon said that it was the amount left when the Wells Fargo account was closed. Halfon stated that Rappaport deposited that money into his Chase bank account and that she did not receive any of that money. The investigators had information that Halfon had recently traveled to South Florida and asked her if she was recently in Miami. Halfon initially said it had been a few months, then admitted that she had been there within the last month. She stated that she had went to Boca Raton to a Cartier store to purchase an $8,000 necklace with money from Rappaport. What does she need with an $8,000 necklace? I mean, I'm just from a practical standpoint, where are you going? I mean, it's not like you're going to the Emmy award show, the Academy Award show, or the Met Gala. I don't understand. Why do you need an $8,000 necklace? What does this thing look like? Halfon Halfon further advises she does not work and Rappaport pays all her expenses like a normal married couple. Investigators asked to see the necklace. Halfon advised that the necklace was at Rappaport's home. Halfon agreed to contact Special Agent Cancio when the checks arrived from Israel. So she said, now I'll let you know when the checks come back from Israel, and I don't have the necklace there at his house. Now, I mean, I'm just trying to figure this all out. Approximately 20 minutes after leaving Halfon's apartment, Special Agent Cancio received a call from Rappaport. Rappaport stated he knew the investigators went to see Halfon. Rappaport stated he appreciated the investigators' diligence, but that Halfon was going to give him back the checks. He stated he did not want Halfon bothered or deported. Now, at this point, you can sort of determine for yourself whether or not this feels like a real scam to you, and he's now in a position where he really cares about her. He has feelings for her, and he doesn't want to see her bothered or deported. Now, whether or not his feelings for her were the result of her scamming him, I mean, we don't know what the underlying personal relationship was. But at this point, with all this going on, he is still telling investigators, okay, I don't want you going over there. I know you went over there. Please leave her alone and don't deport her. Like, he obviously really has some care and concern for her. I don't want to judge that, All right, let's head back over to this. Okay, so next it says, S.A. Cancio asked Rappaport where he thought the checks were. Rappaport stated they were in Israel. S.A. Cancio asked Rappaport what he did with the $61,915.40. Rappaport stated that he deposited the check in his Chase account and then gave Halfon $60,000. Okay, Rappaport stated that the $60,000 was for Halfon's sick mom that had cancer in Israel. Okay, makes you wonder, is that true? Because Halfon hasn't said anything about that. At this point, she's had a conversation with the investigators, and she didn't say this. Not so far in any of this that we've gone through. Okay, on November 22nd, 2019, Wells Fargo cashier check in the amount of $333,000. Oh, let's just continue there. Was cashed by John Joseph Granser at Bank Alt LLC, doing business as Check Pros. The check contained only the signatures of Lin Halfon and Richard Rappaport. On November 27th, another check was cashed by him at Check Pros. Again, it had the signatures of Lin Halfon and Richard Rappaport. So now we've got two checks cashed. We're at 2/3 of that $1 million. While looking into the background of Granser, your affiant learned that Granser cashed a check in the amount of $176,400 at Check Pros on behalf of James Shannon of Hunters Village, Texas. Detective Lane learned that James Shannon passed away May 25th, 2017. Detective Lane spoke to Shannon's son, who advised his father was befriended by a woman in a grocery store parking lot in Texas. The son advised his father had purchased an $80,000 Mercedes for the woman and gave her sums of money. The son never met the woman. The son brought his father to the Memorial Village Police Department to file a report. The son does not believe any action was taken. So wait, let's break this piece back down again. Okay, so Granser has now cashed two checks, and then in the process of them investigating him, they find out that he had cashed another check on behalf of this Mr. Shannon, who is now saying, his son's now saying, well, he met some woman in a parking lot and gave her some money. Who was that? On December 6, 2019, Special Agent Cancio contacted Rappaport with your affiant present. Rappaport was asked about the status of Halfon returning the checks. Rappaport stated that he made arrangements with Halfon to get them back the following week. Rappaport was asked if he ever signed the checks. Rappaport stated that he did not sign the checks. Oh, now wait a second, because what did we just see? These checks that were cashed had the signatures of Lin Halfon and Richard Rappaport. And yet now down here, he's saying that he never signed the checks. Right here, Rappaport stated he did not sign the checks. Rappaport asked S.A. Cancio to give him until the end of the following week for Halfon to return the checks. I mean, is he even checking his account to see what's going on? On December 7th, 2019, your affiant served the Wells Fargo Bank with a court-authorized search warrant freezing the third check in the amount of. Okay, so it sounds like he was still very trusting of her. It sounds like he still, he was still believing her. He was still falling victim to the scam that she was putting out there, because she's telling him, oh, well, the checks are coming back. I'll let you know when they're coming back. Yes. And what she doesn't say is those checks have already been, I gave them to Grancer and he's cashed them at Bank Out LLC. 2 of them have already cashed. 2/3 of the money is now gone. And so, yes, it really sounds like if you're trusting the other person, then there's no reason for you to go check, right? There's no reason for you to make sure that the money is still in the account, because you're believing her when she's saying that, oh no, I'm going to let you know when the checks come back. All right. So they've now gotten a search warrant to freeze the third check. On December 10th, 2019, your affiant and S.A. Cancio met with Amscot branch manager Williams, advised that on November 7th, 2019, she received a telephone call from an unidentified male asking whether Amscot could cash a $1 million cashier's check. Williams replied by stating that Amscot could negotiate that amount, but would have to see the check in order to make a determination. Oh, let me stop here, because I've never heard of Amscot, and so we're just going to have to look them up too. The unidentified male asked what the fee would be and attempted to negotiate the 4.9% fee provided by Williams. The unidentified male stated that his wife would be bringing the check to Amscot. Williams described the unidentified male's voice as a younger person, talkative and outgoing. Approximately 1 hour later, Halfon arrived at the Amscot with the check. Williams contacted Jaycee Wasso at Amscot corporate office, who verified the check to be valid with Wells Fargo. Williams confirmed to the agents that Halfon had offered up to $100,000 fee to receive cash. And like I said before, so you're just gonna walk out of there? Like, did she bring bags? Like, are you getting large bills? Like, can I just get 20s and 10s? No. Can I get hundreds and thousands? So what was she asking for? Because I'm trying to figure out how this was gonna work when she's leaving the bank. Like, I'm just wondering, did she come in with like duffel bags? I'm feeling like I'm in the movies here. Did she come in with duffel bags or something? Did she have a roller bag? I mean, what did she come in with? Book bag? What was she going to take all of this money out with? I want cash. I'll give you 100,000. So now I'm down to 900,000. Yes, but I'm going to need large bills because I only brought one duffel bag. I don't know. How is this supposed to work? I don't understand. It says Williams asked Halfon why she would risk carrying $1 million in cash to Miami to buy the yacht. And Halfon responded that her husband knew the seller. Well, that still doesn't make any sense. She's not asking about the seller. I know the seller. She says, why would you risk carrying cash to Miami? You're going to carry all that cash there. Why? Why? Makes no sense. It's basically what the branch manager is saying. What you're doing has me a little concerned because it just really makes no sense. On December 10th, 2019, Your Affian and S.A. Concio met with Rappaport at his estate planning attorney's office. In the presence of his attorney, Rappaport was asked the status of Halfon returning the 3 checks totaling $1 million. Rappaport stated that he was still waiting for Halfon to give him the checks the next week. Rappaport stated that Halfon told him that a friend of hers had brought the checks back from Israel to New York and that the friend was supposed to have brought the checks to Tampa. Rappaport stated that because Halfon had been sick, she told her friend not to travel. Halfon further told Rappaport that her friend was leaving New York to travel to Boston, so she, Halfon, needed to travel to New York on Sunday, December 15, 2019, to pick up the checks before her friend left. I don't know. You guys ever heard of I don't know. I don't know what to say about this. Rappaport was again asked whether he had ever signed the back of the checks, and he confirmed that he did not. Rappaport was asked if he ever called Amscot or any other financial institution on Halfon's behalf to inquire if they could cash the $1 million check, and Rappaport replied that he did not. Rappaport was then told, now he's told, let's see where he goes with this. Rappaport was then told that 2 of the 3 checks, $333,333.33 each, have been cashed in New Jersey on November 22nd and November 27th, 2019. Your affiant showed Rappaport copies of the 2 checks that have been cashed in New Jersey with Rappaport's and Halfon's signature on the back of each. Now, this is where you fall apart, right? This is where you get that moment where it's the smoking gun. And they're now showing you, they're just like, sir, and handing it, They're just like, sir, here are the checks. I'm going to turn over on the back. You can see there are signatures. You can see how much they were for. You can see when they were cashed. I mean, how painful and hurtful that must be to him after he has been trusting her. He's like, don't bother her, leave her alone. She's going to get it taken care of. She's going to let me know as soon as it's back. It's going to be next week. I'm telling you, I've talked to her. This is how it's going to happen. I'm going to let you know. Like, he is still standing by her through this scam that she continues to run on him. And it speaks to his trusting nature and her desire to take advantage of him. Now, again, remember, in the background, the psychic is pulling her strings, telling her to do stuff. But right now, we are really more focused on what happened with the bride. All right, let's go back here. All right. I tell you, I don't know. Says, let's go back here. Rappaport confirmed that he did not sign the 2 checks and they were not his exact signatures. At that point, I'm just like, well, let me get up. Let me go get something and I'll show you what my signature looks like. Here's my driver's license. Rappaport confirmed that he did not sign the 2 checks. During the interview, Rappaport received a phone call from Halfon advising him that she had made a reservation for travel to New York the morning of Sunday, December 16th, 2019. I'm like, where are you going? And why are you going? Because they just showed me that the checks have been cashed. I mean, how do you not have that phone conversation? Okay, let's see what happens. Halfon asked Rappaport where he was, and he told her he was running errands and would be at his home soon. Rappaport advised the special agents that he was supposed to see Halfon for dinner that evening after the interview and would not let her know that he was aware of the fraud. Okay, so it sounds like he's now understanding that she is still taking him for a ride. That this is fraud. And imagine being the agents there who are having to go down this road with him and help him understand that this is a criminal action, what she has done to him, and that she has set him up. This is all a big fraud. And imagine them sitting there. I mean, remember, one of the special agents, this is what she has done for most of her career. So she's seen this time and time again. I'm sure she has developed an ability to be able to have conversations with people when they're in this sort of position and their eyes have been opened. It's like, okay, we're going to pull back the curtains and show you exactly what this person is doing. And so he says he's not going to let her know that he is aware of the fraud. It says, at the conclusion of the meeting with Rappaport, your affiant asked Rappaport if, after receiving the information from the special agents about the checks and Halfon's activities, if he felt that he was a victim of fraud and theft. And he replied, yes. So it seems like, sometimes that is what it takes. Sometimes it takes that smoking gun, that final evidence that shows a person exactly what is going on. Because once the data is there in front of you, it's hard to dispute it. You just got off the phone with her. Like, think about it. Rappaport just got off the phone with her. And here she is saying she's going to New York to get these checks. And Rappaport can see that the checks have already been cashed and that somebody has signed his name on the back of them. And yet she is still on the phone with him perpetrating a fraud. And so it sounds like at this point, the special agents have really done their job because they've now gotten him to the point where he can actually see that he is a victim of fraud, that this woman has tried to take advantage of him. And so once they get him on board with that, it is a little bit easier to get him to, go along with whatever the plan is that they need to have in place in order to make sure that they continue to get the information that they need so that they can proceed with filing charges. On the morning of December 11th, 2019, says here, Special Agent Cancio spoke with Rappaport, who advised that the previous evening he did not tell Halfon that he knew of the fraud. However, Halfon told Rappaport that she would be leaving sooner to New York because she did not want to be in Tampa while Rappaport's son was visiting him the following day. Rappaport stated that Halfon changed her flight reservation and departed from Tampa to LaGuardia early that morning on a Delta flight that arrived in New York at 9:35. On December 13, 2019, your affiant obtained an arrest warrant in the 13th Judicial Circuit for the offenses of money laundering, organized fraud, exploitation of the elderly, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. On December 16, 2019, your affiant learned that the third check had also been cashed on December 6, 2019, one day prior to the search warrant being served on Wells Fargo Bank to freeze the check. So now we know they've gotten all $1 million. That search warrant freezing the account, freezing the check, was just a day late. Like the other two checks, this third check was cashed by John Joseph Grancer at Bank Out LLC, doing business as Check Pros. The check contained only the signatures of Lin Halfon and Richard Rappaport. Your affiant and Special Agent Cancio traveled to the Tampa International Airport on the morning of December 16, 2019, as Halfon was due to return from Newark, New Jersey. At approximately 10:15 a.m., your affiant and Special Agent Cancio approached Halfon as she exited the baggage area with her luggage and was waiting curbside with a cell phone in her hand. Special Agent Cancio asked Halfon if she remembered him and that she was supposed to call him regarding the checks. Special Agent Cancio introduced your affiant, and we showed Halfon our FDLE credentials. Your affiant requested Halfon put her cell phone away. Special Agent Cancio asked if she had the checks, and Halfon advised that she had received the checks while in New York. Well, okay, let's see where this goes. Special Agent Cancio asked again if she had the checks with her, and Halfon replied no, that she cashed the checks in New York on Tuesday or Wednesday. Okay, so now she's just lying? I mean, she just sounds like she's just making it up as she goes along. Halfon said she cashed the checks at a random place but didn't know the name because she just asked somebody where to cash them. Does anybody believe that? Like, nobody's going to believe that. Halfon then said the check cashing place was supposed to send the money to Israel And if that didn't work, she could get the money back. Does she really? I like at this point, at this point, at this point, even I'm tired. Like, who can follow all this? And does she actually think people believe these stories that she's making them up? No, I don't have them. Oh, wait, I cashed them at a place. Oh, no, I don't remember the place. Do you have a receipt? Do you have anything? Like, I mean, I'm tired just listening to all of this. I mean, it's wearing me down. I cannot understand how poor Mr. Rappaport feels. I mean, he had to feel beaten down because I'm feeling beaten down just reading about all of this and the things that they went to have this fraud continue to go on. Halfon stated that she did not have a receipt, okay, and did not know how much she was charged to send the money to Israel. Your affiant advised Halfon that she was being placed under arrest for the outstanding arrest warrant, informed her of the charges, and Halfon was transported to the Hillsborough County Jail. Subsequent interviews with Richard Rappaport revealed that he met Halfon sometime in 2018 while Halfon was working at a kiosk in the International Mall in Tampa selling cosmetic products. Halfon approached Rappaport to sell him cosmetics. Rappaport purchased thousands of dollars of cosmetic products from Halfon that day. They later had coffee together at the mall and their relationship began. Rappaport's credit card statements reflect two charges for the cosmetics he purchased for Halfon on June 22nd, 2018, one of them for $428 and a second charge of $2,140. Halfon requested money and other items from Rappaport on numerous occasions during their relationship, both before and after they were married. On or about November 7, 2019, Rappaport recalled getting ready to leave for a trip to New York with his daughter, Dana Titus. Halfon was very upset that Rappaport was leaving and begged him not to go on the trip. Halfon was desperate for money that she claimed she needed to send to her sick mother with cancer in Israel. Halfon claimed her mother needed special treatments for the cancer. Before leaving on his trip, Rappaport and Halfon went to TD Bank and withdrew all the money he had in his account in the amount of $12,802 and gave it to Halfon. Rappaport then went to the airport with his daughter. While at the airport, Rappaport received a telephone call from Halfon, who was hysterical, crying and begging him not to travel. Halfon told Rappaport that she needed help cashing the cashier's checks because she really needed money for her sick mother. Rappaport left the airport and did not go on the trip. My goodness. Okay, so now we're sort of going back in time to figure out how this relationship started. Rappaport advised Halfon would often tell him that she needed money for her mom and dad, Victor and Esther Halfon. According to Halfon, her mom was undergoing cancer treatments and had to have special treatments. Halfon also stated that her father was in bad debt and needed $100,000. Rappaport gave Halfon $80,000 cash on or about December 18, 2018 to give to her father. Rappaport advised he never met Halfon's parents, even though they visited Tampa from Israel on one occasion. Halfon told Rappaport she did not want Rappaport to meet her parents because she did not have a good relationship with her dad. She hated her dad but loved her mother. Rappaport also advised her affiant that he gave Halfon money for Halfon's friend on several occasions, including wiring money to the friend in upstate New York. Halfon explained to Rappaport that her friend who needed money cared for orphans. Oh, do we believe that? Rappaport provided your affiant with a copy of a wire transfer sent by Halfon to the friend for $9,000. The transfer was made on November 1st, 2019. Two other wire transfers were made to this same friend in the amounts of $2,500 and $5,000. Your affiant also learned that Halfon sent several $500 transfers of money starting August 1st, 2019 to the same friend using Zelle. Your affiants have identified this friend as Jaycee Wasso. Your affiant subsequently interviewed Halfon's parents, Victor and Esther Halfon, with the assistance of a Hebrew interpreter. The Halfons traveled from Israel to Tampa upon learning that their daughter had been arrested and were visiting her at the jail. Esther Halfon advised your affiant that she does not, nor has she ever had breast cancer. So now we have another piece of this scam, but we knew this was coming, right? We knew that it was very likely that her mother didn't have cancer and that that was part of the ruse to get more money from him. All of this a part of this scam where she's trying to take his money. So I don't know how you do that to people, but that's what she did. That's what she said. All right, let's see what else happens here. Esther Halfon reported being in good health. She also advised that she and her husband owned their apartment, 2 vehicles, and they are not in debt. So where is all this money going? Victor Halfon advised that he did not have any personal business debts and has never asked for or received money from his daughter. Just the opposite. Victor Halfon explained that he and his wife and 2 other daughters who live in Israel sent Lin Halfon money to assist with her living expenses when Halfon first moved to the United States. Victor Halfon explained that Lin Halfon repaid approximately $3,000 to her 2 sisters for the money they had given her, but none of that money went to the parents. The parents also advised that they have a good, loving relationship with Halfon. So it sounds like the parental relationship was a lie too. I hate my father, but I love my mother. So no, you can't see them when they come here because, yes, we don't get along or whatever it was she was making up. Neither of the parents knew that Halfon was married to Rappaport until after she was arrested, and it was reported on the internet. Imagine like being that set of parents. Neither of the parents knew that she had been married to her first husband and divorced before marrying Rappaport. Neither parent knew their daughter's first husband, Morris Sebi. The parents advised that Halfon told them Rappaport was her boss and that he provided her with a work car and helped pay for her apartment. Esther Halfon advised that Halfon told her she made approximately $2,000 per month plus commission for her work in sales. The parents previously traveled to Tampa from Israel to visit Halfon in December 2018. However, they did not meet Rappaport because Halfon told her parents Rappaport was out of the country. So let me make sure I got this right. Her parents don't know anything about either marriage. The parents don't find out about any of this until after she's arrested and it's on the internet. The parents actually think that her husband is her boss who is helping her with living expenses, and she's being paid $2,000 a month. She is not sending them money that she claimed she was sending them, but instead they were helping pay her living expenses. I'm not sure how she kept up with everything that she was telling anybody. I don't know how you keep up with all of that. All right, let's scroll down here. Your affiant was provided copies of text messages from Rappaport's phone on communications he had with Halfon between November 11, 2019 through the date of Halfon's arrest on December 16, 2019. The text communications reflect that Rappaport was requesting Halfon return the checks on several occasions, and he wanted the money back in the bank. On December 13, 2019, after all 3 checks have been cashed, because remember now, that freeze didn't work, Rappaport asked Halfon whether she has the checks. Like he is asking her now, okay? Honey, do you have the checks? Halfon replied, yes. Rappaport requested that Halfon come back, and Halfon replied that she would return to Tampa on Monday as she would be seeing the city. Rappaport requested that Halfon send pictures from the city, and Halfon complied. I just don't know, we're just about at the end of this because the whole thing is it wasn't uploaded. In addition to Halfon obtaining large sums of cash from Rappaport during their relationship, Halfon also obtained certain items of jewelry from Rappaport, including a Rolex watch valued at approximately $47,000 and a Hyundai vehicle valued at approximately $13,000. Okay, let me just stop here because so let me ask you, so you have a $47,000 watch, but a $13,000 car. I just don't understand. I mean, this isn't a funny situation, but That one I don't get. I do not get that one. I'm gonna take that $47,000 watch, but I'm gonna sell. But I only want a $13,000 car. I'm confused. I'm so confused here. Oh, I'm gonna have to figure out how to cut this out of the video. I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure out how to cut this out. I'm like literally crying here because I think this is the funniest part. And it's not good because again, this whole thing was fraudulent. It is really bad. But I just want to make sure I got this right. So he gave her a Rolex watch valued at $47,000 and a Hyundai vehicle. Like, is this what she wanted? I'm just thinking, most people want to put their money into having a nice vehicle that they know they can count. No, I'm not putting down Hyundai, okay? But if I have a choice, I'm going to want a vehicle that has a good safety history. And, there are just some things I'm going to be looking for. And so, more than likely, I'm going to want that money in the vehicle, not in the watch. Like, but it sounds like I don't know, it's just interesting. It's funny to me that that's the way that that was done. I don't know. I don't know. That just seems interesting there. That one's killing me. And maybe because they placed it in this affidavit like that together. Do you know what I mean? Like it wasn't like, here, honey, here's a $47,000 watch and here's a $13,000 car. So that's probably not how it happened. But when they put it here in this one sentence like this, yeah. Okay, I should get back on things. Right, yeah. Both of the aforementioned items were declared by Halfon as assets belonging to her in a financial affidavit made part of a premarital agreement entered into between Rappaport and Halfon on July 31st, 2019. So let me go back for just a second. Okay, so we've got this financial affidavit. So this is where this information about the money is coming from. And it says during their relationship, okay, he gave her jewelry, and this is one of these pieces of jewelry was this watch, okay, and he also gave her a vehicle, okay, and these items are listed on this financial affidavit, okay. So I'm not, I'm not putting him down or anything when I'm talking about this watch and this car. It's just the way it's phrased there is interesting. On January 19th, 2020, your applicant obtained a search warrant for Halfon's cellular devices, iPhone 6 white face, rose gold body. Oh, is that like mine? Oh, no, mine's an iPhone. Okay, different. iPad. Okay, yeah. An analysis of these devices revealed that Halfon communicated via text messages, telephone, and emails with someone Halfon identified in her phone as Jaycee. Your applicants learned that the owner of this telephone number was Jaycee Wasso. The friend Rappaport recalled Halfon telling him needed money to care for orphans. Okay, and then they go into some of the text messages. So this sort of gives you this background of what was going on in this relationship and how it all fell apart because of these checks. Now, imagine for a second, this isn't a good thing I'm about to say, but imagine for a second that that hadn't happened. Do you know what I mean? And that the whole check thing hadn't happened, but over the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 years, or over the rest of his life, that she continued to be in this position where she was getting money out of him for little things. Imagine that that had been the case, and that maybe, and I'm not saying this is a good thing either, but maybe by them running this whole $1 million check scam thing, that brought an end to it sooner. And so now Mr. Rappaport gets to go on with the rest of his life with his son and his daughter and not have this person in his life. Okay, so it's better that he found out sooner rather than later. Now, I hate that he had to go through any of this, but the sooner the fraud is found out about, the sooner it can be stopped. And this is just a horrible, horrible situation, but at least that part of it is over. So now I want to actually go to a different document. Let me see if I can pull that one up. I want to go to this. What is this? This is the plea agreement. Okay, so let me scroll down just a little bit. Case number 2019 CF 017244-A, State of Florida, plaintiff versus Lin Halfon. Okay, so this is the plea agreement. My full name is Lin Halfon, date of birth, and I am the defendant charged in the above styled criminal case. So just to hit back on that, State of Florida, B. Helena. Oh, okay. So I thought we were going someplace else. I thought I had missed something. My apologies. I have completed high school up to and including. I just need to start back over. I have completed school up to and including high school. I am fluent in and understand how to read and write the English language. In the above styled criminal cases, I am pleading guilty because I believe that I am guilty to the following offenses. So you've got organized fraud here and exploitation of the elderly. I understand that under Florida statutes, if I were to be convicted of all counts as currently charged in the information, the maximum penalty provided by law that could be imposed is 105 years in prison. That is a long time. I also understand that under the criminal punishment code, if I were to be convicted of all counts as currently charged, I would receive a minimum of 124.5 months in prison. I understand that in addition to the foregoing, I could be ordered to pay court costs, restitution, costs of investigation, and costs of prosecution. I enter my plea as part of the following agreement negotiated with the state to be presented to the court for acceptance. Okay, so this is what they've agreed to. I agree to admit my guilt and enter pleas of guilty to counts 2 and 3 as detailed above. I stipulate to a factual basis and agree that the court will adjudicate me guilty of counts 2 and 3, and I waive a pre-sentence investigation report. I agree to pay restitution in the amount of $50,000 to victim Richard Rappaport. I will be released from the custody of the Hillsborough. Upon my plea, I will be released from the custody of the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. I understand that because I'm not a U.S. citizen and I have already been ordered removed by the United States Immigration Court, I will be taken into federal custody immediately upon my release from state custody and will be deported to Israel, my country of origin. I agree to waive any petitions for adjustment of the status of my resident alien card. I agree to postpone sentencing until a date requested by the state. I agree that prior to sentencing, I will cooperate with the state of Florida in the investigation of illegal activities. Meaning, okay, remember the guy who signed the checks and cashed them, and also the psychic who was the one telling her to do all of this. Of course, we haven't really delved a lot into that in this particular video. I agree that cooperation by me is defined as satisfaction of all of the following terms of this agreement. So these are all the things that she has to do. The defendant agrees to provide assistance to the Office of Statewide Prosecution. Look, it says including the names of all material witnesses and their involvement in, including the above captioned case, all related crimes, and any illegal activity about which the defendant has knowledge or unrelated to the charged criminal activity. It says she agrees to testify against accomplices, accessories, co-conspirators, principals, all of those people. It says that she agrees that any failure of the defendant to be truthful will violate this agreement. The defendant agrees to be polygraphed if necessary. It says, upon being deported to Israel and while pending sentencing in this matter, I agree to reside at the address provided by my counsel to the state of Florida and not to travel outside of Israel until such time as I am paroled back to the United States for purposes of providing testimony in accordance with paragraph 5E. I agree to maintain monthly contact with my defense counsel, call in the first of every month. It says, if the defendant does not violate any of the terms of this agreement prior to sentencing, the state will recommend at sentencing that the defendant be sentenced as follows. So if she cooperates, this is what happens to her. The defendant will be adjudicated guilty of the counts to which she is pleading guilty. The defendant will be sentenced to time served on each account to run concurrent with each other. So she won't have to serve any additional time. The defendant will be required to pay costs of prosecution to the Office of Statewide Prosecution in the amount of $4,500. Florida law enforcement gets $1,500 in addition to any standard court costs. And then it says, at the time of the sentencing, the state will dismiss counts 1 and 4. It says, I understand and agree that this plea agreement shall be controlled by the following section. If at any time I refuse to cooperate, I'll be in breach. If any time I refuse to return to the U.S. and provide testimony, I will be in breach. If I commit any act that results in me being arrested and a judge finds probable cause for the arrest, I will be in breach. The determination of whether I have breached this plea agreement rests solely with the state. I understand that upon breach, I will not be allowed to withdraw my pleas of guilty. I further understand that upon breach of this plea agreement by me, I will be sentenced in accordance with the Criminal Punishment Code up to the statutory maximum of 60 years in prison. All right, she says she believes her attorneys have counseled her. They have all the facts. I have held nothing back. I believe my attorneys are fully informed on all such matters. They have advised me of the pros and cons. And then she says, if I choose to continue to plead not guilty, Florida and federal law guarantee me the following rights: the presumption of innocence, the right to a speedy trial. You guys have heard of all of these before. The right to be tried in a county in which the crime occurred, the right to see, hear, and face in open court all witnesses called to testify against me and to cross-examine them. These are your rights. These are your general rights in court. The right to use the power and process of the court to compel the production of any evidence, the right to have the assistance of a lawyer at all stages, the right to take witnesses, the right to take the witness stand at my own option, and if convicted, I would have the right to appeal. I acknowledge by entering this plea, I give up all of these rights. I agree that the state can prove that I'm guilty and that the state could introduce evidence at trial sufficient to support a jury verdict against me. I acknowledge that entering a plea admits the facts of the charges. I'm entering this plea with the understanding that I may serve every day of the sentence that I'm agreeing to in this plea agreement. I understand that if I'm not a United States citizen, the crime charged against me involves an aggravated felony. A conviction entered on this criminal proceeding will likely cause me to be deported to my country of origin. I understand that if the offense to which I am pleading is a sexually violent offense or a sexually motivated offense, or if I've been previously convicted of such an offense, then my plea may subject me to involuntary civil commitment as a predator. I understand that the state has disclosed in discovery to the defense all items of physical evidence, and I'm unaware of any physical evidence for which DNA testing could exonerate me. I acknowledge that my conviction in this case may be used against me in any subsequent criminal proceeding or sentencing. I acknowledge that any appeal must be filed within 30 days from the date of judgment or sentence. I acknowledge that it must be in writing. No officer, attorney, prosecutor, or judge or other person has threatened me to enter into this plea agreement. The statements and representations made here are my own. I have had enough time to study this plea agreement and discuss it with my attorneys, and I still wish to plead guilty. I'm not under the influence of any alcohol, beverage, drug, or medicine, suffering from any mental illness. She is of her right mind, she is saying here. I wish to resolve in Hillsborough County all the charges filed in this case. I waive my right to venue in any other county, and I agree that there exists a factual basis for the jurisdiction of the Office of Statewide Prosecution and that the crimes occurred in the 12th and 13th Judicial District in Florida. And there you have her signature. And then you have the acknowledgement of defense counsel that they have reviewed and explained this plea agreement to the defendant. And so this gives you an idea of what this looks like, her plea agreement. And then you have the court findings and acceptance here. And it says a factual basis was found sufficient to support the charges. And the court finds that the defendant, Lin Halfon, is alert and intelligent, and she understands the nature of the charges against her. The court finds that she has had the advice of counsel Based on the sworn testimony of the defendant and other witnesses, the court finds that the defendant's plea, as outlined above, is freely and knowingly and voluntarily entered by the defendant, and so ordered. So this would be the draft version of this, and then the judge would sign here and date it there. So that's what the plea agreement looks like, and basically she's signing this so that they can then go to court against the psychic. So now let's go back to the psychic so we can wrap this whole thing up. We're going to take a look at this Law and Crime article here. Psychic sentence for coaching young wife on stealing $1 million from elderly husband. So this was how I started this whole thing, talking about Jaycee Wasso. But it really came down to the wife, the new wife, who was the one who was cooperating in the end in this trial for her. And I'll put the link so that you can watch it on YouTube, the trial. You can watch it on Law and Crimes Network. The audio is not as good as you would like, but a lot of the information is there. You can see the wife, Lin Helena, testifying about what happened. So you can follow that along and hear her own testimony there about how she was coached. But I want to talk a little bit about what they're saying, what they've presented in this article. And so this is a picture of Jaycee Wasso here. And let's break down this article. And it says here she was sentenced on Friday for coaching a wife on bilking cash and stealing $1 million from her elderly husband. Jaycee Wasso is 26. Okay, she's only 26 years old, and she now has to spend 9.5 years in prison, 15 years on probation, and she can no longer do fortune telling. Well, I don't think she was really going to be doing any more of that anyway. And here they're breaking down what she was actually found guilty of: organized fraud, conspiracy to commit grand theft of property, structuring transactions to evade reporting requirements, and 6 other counts of theft. Although, the structuring piece was kind of interesting in that she broke it down to the 300, thousand when, yeah, I don't even want to get into that. That was just a mess. Okay, so here you had the wife. So look at those ages there. This was something that I mentioned earlier. She was only 25, and the wife was only 29. And some of that, sort of led me to believe, there was a lack of experience and wisdom here that I guess probably contributed to this falling apart sooner than if you'd had someone who was maybe a little more experienced at doing this type of fraud. So, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but at least the fraud is over with at this point. All right. So let's see this sort of let's see some of the statements that she made here in order to get the wife to do some of this stuff. It says, Lynn, give it your all. She wrote in August 2018, act like he's your soulmate. So this is one of those things where they're saying, here's how she's coaching her to win him over. Act like he's your soulmate. Not, I know you love him and want to spend your life with him. And so nothing like that, but act. And so that's telling us right there that they both know that this is a fraud, that this is not really what the wife wants to do. She wants the money, but it doesn't appear like she necessarily thinks he's her soulmate or wants to be with him in this capacity. Otherwise, if that were the case, then she wouldn't, then Jaycee Wasso, the psychic, wouldn't have had to tell her to act a certain way. So that's what it's saying in this article. This is one of the things that they pointed out. It says Rappaport fell head over heels for Halfon, said prosecutor. He described it as a very good friendship that resulted in Rappaport marrying the Israeli-born Halfon so she could stay in the United States. The prosecutor told jurors that evidence would show that Wasso kept pushing. And then, yeah, it says Halfon met her, and this is talking about Wasso, how the psychic and the wife got together. Halfon met her when living and working in Massachusetts. Authorities said that Wasso, a self-professed psychic, exhibited considerable control over her, asserting that she could feel darkness from Halfon and that a curse was going through generations of the woman's family. So this is the sort of stuff that she's telling her to sort of reel her in and get her to do some things. Lin, the spirits want me to tell you what's going on. Your mother is going to die. You're going to lose everything. You're going to be sent away. You're going into darkness. Darkness is going to possess you. Well, the interesting thing was, it sounds like the darkness was Jaycee Wasso. And I'm not trying to be funny here, but that was the darkness. She was someone who came into her life and brought this fraud along with her. But it sounds like, Lin already had some issues going on, because remember, she had already been through, the divorce. She hadn't told her parents she had remarried. She was telling them she needed money. So she already had her own issues going on. It could have been that Jaycee Wasso was psychic and saw, the darkness that Jaycee was bringing in, or the darkness that was already there. It's not entirely clear. But that sort of wraps this up. This the whole piece on what happened between the wife and the husband that led to this sort of breakdown in this fraud that enabled the authorities to then find out about the psychic and go after her, who has now been sentenced. So keep a lookout. I say this all the time. Keep a lookout on the people around you who may be taken advantage of. And they don't always have to be elderly or senior citizens. They could just be friends and family who are close to you, who just maybe don't have the time to research someone or a company or business like they should, or follow up as they should. And so they may get taken in by someone who's perpetuating a fraud. So make sure you're looking out for your family and your friends. And don't forget to give this a thumbs up if you got a lot more information about what went on in that whole scenario and what to be on the lookout for. And don't forget to subscribe. Peace.